Hey everybody, my name's Breanna Sorensen and I'm here with Navy Wrestling's new head coach, Cary Kolat. Cary, first, congratulations on joining this Navy family, but what was your initial reaction when you found out that you were our official new head coach?
It was awesome. Like I said, the U.S. Naval Academy is a big deal and a well-respected institution and everything it represents. So, when I sat down with Chet and when the job was offered, I was, extremely excited and, ready for the next phase of my coaching career.
Definitely. And after 6 successful years at Campbell University, why did you now choose to make that jump now to come to Navy?
I just felt like it was time, when you take a program such as at Campbell was a smaller school and build it up and establish it. And, you hit certain benchmarks. There was a point that I finally said, okay, I'm ready for the next chapter of my coaching career and ready to make a move and do something different. But when you go into anything, you go with the idea you're going to be there forever. And that's how I approached the job at Campbell. But then there's a point when there's some benchmarks and you say, I'm ready for a change and I'm excited for the change and people move on over time. And so Navy was the next step for me.
And have you been able to talk to the team at all through video chat? I understand you're still in North Carolina until all of this craziness is done with, but have you been able to talk to the team at all?
Yeah, we've been probably talking about 3 times a week right now. And so that's been, helpful in getting to know the guys and talk to them and just get familiar with the personalities. And then also I've been calling them individually and just kind of, speaking with them over the phone and getting to know them. And again, some of the guys I knew, some of the guys I actually recruited when I was at Campbell and they went to Naval Academy, and kind of the joke I'm using is you didn't come to me, so I had to come to you. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah. So you're familiar with a few players already. Tell me a little bit about that.
Mike Smith. Well, I was in Maryland for quite a few years. I used to run a club up there before I got back into college coaching. So I made a lot of connections with some of the local kids. And then the coaches up there in Maryland I know as well. And so Mike Smith is one. I was just on the phone with him, last night. But Mike was a athlete that I had recruited at Campbell actually while I was at UNC as well. Mike was familiar to me. And so, he's been a guy kind of helping me learn the ins and outs, of the Naval Academy, being an athlete there. So I got a lot of things I got to learn about the academy. It's not just a regular institution.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit. You've had so many different coaching experiences over the years, and you had an amazing wrestling career yourself. What characteristics do you look for in these athletes that makes them differentiate from just a good wrestler to a really standout wrestler?
Well, one thing I always look for, I just talked to a guy the other night. We were talking about other things, and it's a kid at a different school, and we became friends over time. But enthusiasm is one. We're definitely looking for a kid who's enthused every time he steps into the wrestling room. And you get a lot of that when you talk to them with their personality over the phone, or whether it's through video, or whether it's face-to-face. So I look for a kid who's enthused about wrestling and enthused about improving. And, when it comes to challenges, faces them head on in a sense that let me see how far I can go. I'm going to try to avoid, and my staff's going to avoid a kid who we think is, maybe on that at the end of his career where the enthusiasm has dropped. And so my staff is always very enthused, and we have a positive approach to how we coach, and we're looking for kids who respond to that. And I always tell them that doesn't mean it's all hugs and kisses every day in the practice room, but that's what we're looking for, enthusiasm.
Definitely. And you for sure, we can tell, have that enthusiasm in coaching in your own career. I mean, looking at your list of accomplishments, I wrote a few down. I mean, you went 137-0 at Jefferson Morgan High School, 2-time NCAA champion, Olympian, 3-time World Cup gold medalist, like the National Wrestling Hall of Famer. The list just goes on and on. But when you look back at your own career, is there a certain accomplishment that you're most proud of for yourself?
I think just the amount of time I spent in the sport. I started wrestling at 5, and I didn't get everything I set out to get, but I got pretty far. I got myself to the Sydney Olympics. Didn't have the tournament I wanted to have, but most people would have checked out, years earlier. And so I've continued to stay enthused about wrestling, and now with coaching, it's starting over and you know, I'm still fairly young as a head coach and just hitting those accomplishments and setting those goals for others. But the biggest thing is, you know, I think the time I spent as an athlete and now being a coach and seeing young guys try to reach, you know, some of the things that I did and helping them do it, you know, and the biggest thing about coaching is you got to get rid of your ego. You have to be all about the athlete. And if you're not, they're going to pick up on that, you know, and so that's what I'm always trying to be better at every single day. And that's what my staff tries to do.
Did you know that after your collegiate and your own professional career that you for sure wanted to get into coaching? Did you know that from the beginning?
No, not at all. I've always made it a point to do different things. And so after the Olympics, I coached for a couple years and then I left coaching and I went into the business world because I just felt like I needed to do something else and see if something else, you know, got me excited like wrestling did. And so I went into the business world for a few years, learned a lot, you know, and then I came back to wrestling over time. I was always tied to it, you know, especially up in the Maryland area. I was always doing a club and I was always tied to wrestling. But I needed to step away just to kind of well-round myself and get some different experiences. And the more experiences you have, the better you can be at something because you bring different perspectives. So it helped me bring perspectives to coaching and manage relationships with people. And that's what it's all about in the end is having a good relationship with your athlete and getting the most out of it.
Do you have a specific, now coming to Navy, do you have a specific duel or anything that you're most looking forward to coming to Navy?
Yeah, well, you know, part of the job, you know, the Naval Academy overall was just enticing. But that Army-Navy rivalry is probably the biggest rivalry in sports, and it's a big deal in every sport that we have up there. So, of course, that's the big duel that we're looking for. I love rivalries. I love the competition. I love it if you're, you know, if you're not expected to win on paper and then you find a way to do it. Those are the things that get me excited. That's, you know, pressure is what brings out the best in people. Some people fold under pressure. Some people, it's going to bring the best out of them. And so for us in the athletes, that's what it is. You want to be in those intense environments. You know, you want to compete in that environment. You want to compete in front of thousands of fans. So yeah, the Army-Navy duel is a big deal.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us today, Coach. And we can't wait to have you coach during that Army-Navy meet and have you here hopefully in Annapolis soon.
Soon. All right. Thank you, Breanna.